Very nice to meet you all. As I'm sure many of us, I suspect many of us, I read a lot of sci-fi books when I was growing up. And I was always inspired by the technology and also the visions of the future. One of the things that became apparent was that all of these visions of the future had one thing in common. And this one thing was the assumption that you had access to basically unlimited energy. My name is Thomas Eskebaek. I'm the CEO and founder of Heliotec, and I'm going to present to you how Heliotec is building a key part of the infrastructure to enable this vision of the future, namely delivering a distributed grid. Now, inspired by all this sci-fi I was reading, I decided to study engineering and AI, and subsequently went into both strategy consulting, spent time in asset management, and also in private equity. And there are three insights that led to the founding of Heliotec. The first one is that in order to decarbonize our energy systems, we have to electrify. But our grid as it is today cannot handle this electrification. In the UK, for example, we're expecting roughly 3x increased consumption at the consumption point, and the grid simply can't handle that. We'll come back to that in a moment. The second thing is that the technology is here and it's ready to scale. This became very apparent as I was electrifying my house and saw an amazing ROI on that investment. And it raised the question, why doesn't everyone do this? It turns out that for most businesses, this is actually seen as a risk because they don't want to spend the capex, they don't want to take the technology risk, they don't understand the technology, and finally, they don't want to basically run an energy system. And for that reason, they're not moving forward with this. The last insight is that the financing is there for the right assets. So I worked for Fidelity International, one of the world's largest asset managers, and one of the key insights from there, key learnings from there, was that investors' biggest problems is actually deploying the capital. But if you have the right way of packaging an asset, the capital is definitely there. I used this in my previous company, FinTech, that I built to 1.5 billion AUM and 150 million enterprise value on the basis of creating a new asset class and making it available to investors. And we're doing the same at Heliotec. So coming back to the core problem, the grid is the limiting factor, and very, very importantly, it cannot scale. You have a monolithic design that was conceptualized in the 1880s by Thomas Edison. You have a system that's prone to cascading failures. We saw that very clearly last year in May, where Portugal and Spain was left without power for somewhere between 12 to 18 hours, despite this being a sunny day with roughly 12 gigawatts of solar producing at the time. And finally, it's a physical constraint that inhibits the scale. You have roughly 100 million kilometers of transmission and distribution cable across the world, and the cable is only this thick. You can only push so much power to it. If you try to put more power through it, it's going to burn, and there's no way you can replace all of that. So what's the solution here? It's to basically create the inversion of this to create a distributed grid. We'll come back to that in a moment. So moving away from this monolithic structure and this monolithic design from the grid, there's a couple of things you can do. One of them is that you can install the generation and the storage asset at the consumption points. And that's what we're doing at Heliotec. We're installing solar panels, we're installing batteries, alongside with a sophisticated monitoring and analysis system and interaction system. Very importantly, we install, own, and operate. And that means we take away all of the risks and make it very easy for our customers to say yes to this solution. As we do this, we're taking all of these mini systems and deploying them at scale, at large. And by interconnecting these systems, we're actually creating the infrastructure that's necessary for a decentralized grid. We have something that's distributed, it's decentralized, and it's optimized because you have intelligent systems at the edge interacting with each other. And by doing this, we're actually building a fully integrated, decentralized energy company with our own distribution, generation, and storage capabilities. Obviously, this takes an awful lot of capital. And behind the scenes, what Heliotec is doing is that we are creating a new, a very attractive asset class. And that's how we unlock the necessary capital. Now, on an individual basis, these installations are not investable. Too small, too many single points of failure, etc. But when you combine them up, all of a sudden, you end up with a very attractive asset class, which has long-term revenues and known failure rates, etc., known degradation profiles. So you end up with something that has infrastructure-like risk, but private equity-like returns. And that makes it very, very attractive for investors to look at this. So coming back to the visions of the future, Heliotec is building this core distributed grid that's necessary to enable these visions of the future. We're doing this by installing, owning, and operating the assets that are necessary to do it, and creating an asset class that unlocks the capital. I can speak for hours of this. Please reach out to me if you want to hear more. Thank you.